Hello, beautiful wild woman. Welcome back to the Wild Woman podcast. I am Hannah and so delighted to have you join me in this beautiful audio journey that is about to unfold here in this sacred space. Here in the Wild Woman audio space, we are always traveling in pursuit of your depth, truth, and inner wisdom. So get comfy, settle in, and enjoy. So today I have been very productive already. Past couple of days I feel like energy has been so beautiful. I've been just in the flow of doing things, and even some of the things that sometimes take a lot of mental prep, like full cleaning the house or cooking something. It's just not always in like a yay, let's do it energy. Past 2 days I've been getting so much done. So podcast being one of those things, I'm just so happy at the moment to just settle here in and truly speak to all of you from my heart. And yeah, it just feels so amazing. And I think just the beautiful golden autumny weather here in Queensland helps along with it too. We have been getting so much rain, so this beautiful autumn, cooler, sunshine day is just music to my soul. That's a bit of background. Oh, and what I wanted to mention, if you hear kids running or like screaming bloody murder in the background, I live very close to a daycare. Two daycares actually. And I was just listening back to one of my story shares that I just posted right now on my Instagram. And it's me speaking for about 4 or 5 slides, and all of them is just kids completely just screaming on top of their lungs on the background, and it sounds like someone torturing someone in the next room. No, it's a couple of doors down is daycare, and I think there's some sort of young guy going there doing some games with them, and particularly midday you can just hear them like having the best time, and then loud music comes on, and then there's a countdown, and then they're all running again. It's this whole thing. And I'm completely tuned out to it now that I don't even hear it. I've lived here for a very long time in the same house, same street. Daycare has always been here. So it kind of comes like the ocean that you can't hear it anymore unless you're like, oh yeah, it's quite loud actually. But on this recorded like audio spaces, I can hear it. And but yeah, if you can hear it, that's what it is, and enjoy it. It's obviously such a cool vibe, you know, kids laughing and having such a pure joy on the background, and I think that's how I've been reframing it for myself as well. And what I wanted to speak about today is this particular words actually came through my mind as I was cooking this morning. I'm expecting a beautiful friend to visit me in my home for lunch. So I've been cooking and baking and doing a couple of my favorite things lately. One is my tomga soup. I absolutely love it. Fresh veggies, anything that helps me to eat more vegetables and get away from just a regular buttered toast, I am stoked about. And tomga soup is something that I truly loved for years. So I cooked this one and baked beautiful peanut butter like slice or bars. It's like a very beautiful, fluffy, chewy, almost like a cookie, but in like a slice shape. So I already had a couple of pieces. It's so delicious. But as I was cooking it, I was listening on the background a book. So past maybe week or so, I have been, ladies, I cannot begin to tell you how much I have been completely obsessed with a book called Breath. It's written by a guy called James Nestor, and I had access to it as an audiobook because I've signed up to a couple of like apps through my library account because I'm such a bookworm. So I decided instead of just buying that many books, I started using library more, and then cool, very friendly guy at the library said, well, there's actually a ton of these online resources that if you download this bunch of apps, all of these books that you're asking for, you can either read them on your iPad or listen to them on your phone. And I was like, wow, brilliant. And all free resources as well, by the way. So ask your library about all of this stuff. A couple of apps that have been the best for it are app called Libby and app called the BorrowBox. So the book that I found on BorrowBox as an audio is also narrated by the author James Nestor, and that breath book has honestly completely blown my mind. And I just cannot put into words how transformative already just listening to it has been. And as I was listening to it today there in the kitchen cooking, the words that came to my mind was that your journey always has been and always will be contradicting to you. You will contradict yourself in your journey. Your journey will teach you to eat your own words. Your healing journey will change who you are. So one of the maybe very important principles, maybe even the most important principle that I always introduce to very young girls, but any woman, any age, but particularly very young girls, if I'm working them, they're only stepping into the adulthood. And I'm noticing they are very harsh when it comes to making crazy big decisions about themselves, who they are, what they're worth, what they're capable of, what their beliefs are about, I don't know, creating a family, having kids one day, marriage, sexuality, job offers, their skills, their decisions about anything in life. They think what they decide will be set in stone, not realizing they might change their mind by the end of the session, by the end of the day, next week, couple of years, 10 years down the track. Things can change very quickly or over the time, but they can change a lot. There are a lot of contradicting parts to all of our life journeys, and we need to have that open-minded, an open-hearted kind of position and way about ourselves, that we can receive ourselves in these contradictions and not beat ourselves up over what we decided, thought, or spoke about in the past. Otherwise, we tie ourselves into, honestly, in a gut-wrenching knot. It's been particularly past few sessions as well as I had with some of my long-term clients is talking about how important it is to give yourself a lot of grace for who you were and what was your behavior pattern mainly, how were you reacting to things, like who you were as a person or what were your behaviors. They will change so much over the time. But this particular book, breath, has been making me to eat my words a lot, and I'm so happy about it because that means growth, that means evolution, that means I've broken down some internal barriers. So I truly want to celebrate this change within me instead of kind of hiding it away and beat myself up over like, oh, you must have been that dumb that you didn't see past your own opinion. So you were hopping on about this one thing that you didn't like. And and obviously I'm aware as well that my opinion and my shares have an influence to a certain amount of people, either Instagram or this podcast. But I don't want to hold back in what I share because I feel like sometimes these things that we believe in or these things that catch our attention, they are there for a certain reason. Whether they are there for that certain reason for a short amount of time or long amount of time, doesn't matter. They are there for always a chapter. They are there for maybe a headline, maybe a phase, maybe a stepping stone, but they're part of the journey. And none of us is born like this brilliantly shiny, perfectly cut diamond on the first day. Everything in our life shapes us all the time. But one of those things that I formed a very strong opinion for or against was breathwork. And here's why. So I think I have shared here in the podcast space as well that in the beginning of my journey transitioning into coaching, when I was still full-time working as a personal trainer, I started immersing myself in this coaching world. The world opened itself up to me very quickly. It all started very sharply, very unexpectedly. I just started going to a couple of self-development events and I was completely hooked. I loved it so much. But that world bit me in the ass in a way. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for everything that this big start to my coaching journey brought me. I pretty much spent a year in Gold Coast doing different events. I was there sometimes week, 2 weeks at the time, doing training camps for myself, and eventually also helped to like coach for a couple of events and being the coach in the room, the assistant in the room, training other coaches. And it was an amazing experience. But I needed to truly detox from this time. And one of those things that a lot of these big self-development companies kind of adopted into their events was a healing tool called breathwork. And that was one of my main connection with breathwork, and my main introduction to breathwork were these crazy big cathartic releases of people having to breathe in a very certain way that obviously throws body into extreme stress mode for a purpose of like releasing, healing, helping ourselves reset our nervous system, all of that. But nobody truly actually explained, at least I don't remember, that somebody would have ever explained to us as students in the room, or even to other coaches, like, what the heck is this about? Why are we doing this? And it started to truly like go against my morals, as in I felt like I was participating as a student or like a fellow coach in something that I didn't truly master or understand. My intuition told me that there's something here, but I want to be a professional person in the areas where I am involved with creating change in other people. That's just who I am. I use my intuition in a massive way. And one of those things is like, tell me if I'm on the right path. Tell me, is everything here aligned between people? And yeah, this breathwork started to bug me, particularly because I heard crazy stories. Some people stopped breathing altogether. Some people turned into this animalistic, foreign language speaking, crazy kind of like visuals for other people to witness. And there were like sometimes 50, 100, 150, 200 people in a room, 250 people in a room doing it all together. So to me, these events honestly ended up being traumatic. I don't use this word very often, but what I witnessed, what I saw, people like just going into this absolute crazy, like, I don't know if I call it release, I don't know if I would call it healing. These people, it completely might have been, but it just felt like that people were aiming to reach that screaming phase or this crazy behavior, but actually were quite conscious of it in a way that it was more like a doing of these things rather than experiencing of that full effect of it. I don't know, this can be completely my judgment, but I couldn't fully release myself to these practices either. because just how terrified I was with other people going nuts around me, sometimes in rooms where there wasn't a lot of space between people and so on. And I don't know if I fully also trusted these very young people who, called themselves breathwork coaches to truly hold me through whatever was happening in the room. And that's not a reflection, obviously, on these people who were doing it. That's a reflection on me and my views. But I became completely against breathwork. So if people would message me like, "Oh, Hannah, look at this weekend, ice baths and breathwork, we should go," I'm like, hell to the no. This is not for me. And this whole idea of like freezing yourself in an ice bath and then doing these crazy breath works is, I completely developed this like full body ick towards it. And I harped about it quite a lot, saying like, I tried not to, be like constantly talking about it to everyone who wanted to do it. I said, just try it out your way. But I also shared my opinion that what I've witnessed is not what I like. And I know a lot of coaches have like agreed to this as well, that what's been happening in these massive self-development events is maybe not in their ethical boundaries either. But now having like more understanding of the actual story of breath. That book has been brilliantly written by this guy who has had a massive journey with his health and respiratory issues and breathing difficulties and crooked teeth and just deteriorating health in general. And he's done a very long, deep dive into this whole history, practices, spirituality, healing, science, nervous system manipulation, all of that. He has done a massive deep dive, and that book has been laying it out perfectly. I am far from finished with that book. I think it's over 7 hours audiobook, and maybe I've listened nearly 5 hours now or something. So I have still quite a bit to go, but it has completely changed my perspective, and it goes to show how important is bit of explanation, bit of education, bit of a knowledge, because otherwise it can be just so off-putting to people if they don't understand why we're meant to do these crazy things without no further context. Even, for example, in yoga classes, have you noticed if you go to yoga or Pilates, people tell you, breathe in through your nose, breathe out now through your mouth. And I, as a movement teacher or a trainer and a coach and a healer, I also tell this to people. And I want to incorporate more now, as in, why are we doing this? Why long exhales are good? Because for the longest time, for years, I was thinking, well, why do I have to breathe like this? In the beginning of my journey, when I was only just, diagnosed with anxiety, and I had like a big journey with just living with anxiety, not realizing that I can heal from these emotional and energetic wounds, I couldn't actually take a deep breath. I was very shallow breathing all the time. And it just used to just piss me off that much, that like, breathe deeply, breathe slowly. I would feel like, I don't know, it made me feel like I'm going to throw up, or something within me would release that I didn't know what it was. It felt like something wants to come out. And obviously it did want to come out, because I was holding on a lot of suppressed energy, and it all kind of like was suppressed in the chest, in the throat, just in the body, in my organs, everywhere in my system, that I just couldn't relax and breathe. So deep breath has been a massive signal and sign of my own healing and evolution, and I've been sharing that a lot with people that I work with very closely. But first of all, I want to recommend you this book, Breath by James Nestor. This has been completely mind-blowing to me. I've been harping about this to now everyone I see, and it makes me want to become a breath coach, or like learn more about it, learn more of a depth to it and be certified in it. I don't know if I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it, but it has inspired me and look out of that, my own bubble that I was in and that my mind created to protect myself from these crazy events, these massive screaming matches and cries and all of that. I don't believe healing has to look like this. Things can be gentle, things can be much more smoother. They don't have to be this crazy animalistic, like, wow. I don't even know how to describe it. It's some of the crazy stuff I've seen over my years of becoming a coach and being a coach. And that put me off massively from going to the events. So I've taken quite a few years completely off from doing anything else besides my own events, where I know what I'm doing, I know what is in my ethical boundaries, and being very gentle with breath and things like that. So but it's been interesting when I'm guiding ladies, for example, in circles through this very gentle, just slower breath and taking really time to just breathe, then ladies tell me after, oh, I've never done breath work before. And to me, it's been such a trigger word. And I'm thinking, well, am I teaching breath work? And obviously, the more I now soften to the idea of surrendering yourself to the breath and the art of breathing and understanding so much more about breath, I understand everything is breath work. Like, obviously it is breath work if you kind of listen to someone else's guidance, because working with deep breaths and mindfulness of the breath has been massive tools that I teach to every single one of my clients. And it's a way to kind of tap into your inner wisdom, your inner senses, your intuition, your clarity. And it all starts with deepening and lengthening your breath out. So there are always so many contradicting parts to your journey. I feel this for me has been a massive one, when I now completely happy to eat my own words and be introduced to breath through the real healing power and the energy of breath through such a powerful resource like this book is. And how I came to actually look up this book is one of the ladies who I see quite often in one of my weekly things that I organize. She came up to me once and said, Hannah, have you read this book? It's just fascinating. And because I've been getting more and more curious about breath and the power of it, past maybe like a year, more particularly half a year, I instantly pick this cue up from that lady, because every time I put something out, oh, I want this, I'm curious about this, I wonder what's the go with that, my questions, my prayers are answered. And I saw this woman walk up to me and recommend this book to me as one of those prayers being answered. And that's exactly what has been this for me. So is maybe another beautiful tip for you. Notice, pay attention to the signs that can be so insignificant, so little, so maybe like a video you see, word you hear. The signs are everywhere. They are guiding you, calling you. That's why I always say to ladies, what is drawing your focus? This is either something to unlock within you so you can move past it, or something that you move towards too, that will be an more important building block for you. So my journey with breath has been definitely a beautiful one so far, and very contradicting as well. And yes, like I said, we need to be able to keep that open heart, open mind, and not feel bad about how much we sometimes contradict ourselves. How awful if it would be for us if we would need to decide where we land with our mindset, decisions, opinions, and stay stuck in there. These are usually the people that drive us crazy, the ones that are not willing to bend their mind to any angle, to any degree, because they are just so set like a stone in their ways. But we need to allow this flexibility to ourselves, within ourselves as well, without beating ourselves up. I've encountered that a lot, watching women go through, having now been a coach for years, I've watched women go through quite a lot of phases in their healing journey and different transitions and different seasons. And one of those seasons very often that they go through naturally is always this, well, I can't believe how dumb I was. I can't believe how blind I was. I can't believe how I was behaving. I can't believe I ever said these words to someone. I can't believe I called everyone names. I thought everyone was to blame. I can't believe. This is very often this very important piece of integration, kind of coming home to yourself, releasing yourself from judgment as well, because we are taught to be non-judgmental to others. But beating yourself down, that means a good thing, because you're disciplined, because you are proving yourself all the time with every guilty mood, and always when you're guilty and feeling crappy about yourself, that you're staying humble, you're a nice girl. It's a weird toxic behavior. We do this with ourselves, but being soft with yourself as well, for recognizing first that you have been moving through phases, that's power, and also that's growth. Because if you wouldn't recognize the difference between who you were and who you are now, there wouldn't be that separation. That means you would be still stuck in the old ways of thinking, old ways of behaving. And if you're in it, you don't see it for yourself. You are blind to it. You are not seeing what is right in front of you, right around you, because you're so unconsciously immersed in it all the time. So how can we see it? Like they say, the fish can't see the water they swim in. We can't see that we breathe in oxygen. Someone told us that, but we don't know. How do we know that? How do we know this is exactly oxygen we're breathing in? What is different gases mixed in the air that we're constantly breathing in and out? We don't know that, right? But we can't beat ourselves up for these things we didn't know in the past. We meant to constantly evolve. And that also means accepting that today there are some things you don't know. Today there are some decisions that you make based on what you do know and what you experience. And maybe these decisions would look different if you would make them a year later from now. But does it make your today's decisions worse or bad somehow? No, you're just making them based on what is available for you now. What is available for you today. Always with best intentions heart. Nobody's doing any decisions with the worst intentions. That's my belief. But they're doing it with what is available for them. And our evolution calls us to show grace to all the past versions, to us all the time. Because the journey will be contradicting. And always has been. And the bigger the moves, the bigger the growth, the bigger the contradictions as well. The bigger the contrast between who you were and who you are and who you're becoming. Soften into this. Allow yourself to make mistakes that never end up being mistakes in the first place. They all end up being stepping stones, learning curves. They all end up being beautiful, natural parts of your evolution. And if you watch someone else that you look up to in their evolution, they have been making so many mistakes. Most likely if they would line up all the things that they thought wrong, or where they used their judgment wrong, or there would be more mistakes lined up, or that can be perceived as mistakes, than the successes. And I think that's what people build success on, is like these constant learnings and willingness to learn. If we stop the willingness to learn, then end up being these people who peaked in high school. And that's crazy scary to me. And I think that's where I would like to leave today's episode, is just to that, to call and maybe remind from within your soul this softness and open-mindedness, open heart towards yourself, towards others, allowing yourself and others to go through these natural cycles and seasons and phases and chapters of constant growth and evolution that most likely will travel along over a beautiful, adventurous lifetime. Thank you so much, beautiful wild woman, to tuning into this Exprompt episode with me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your feedback. Sending you so much love, and I will talk to you soon again. Much love.